Hello everyone and welcome to Chapter 6, Assessing Muscular Fitness. Now I know we did some other stuff and we did Chapter 7, and now we're bouncing back. Now that's so it hopefully can coincide with the labs that you're going to be doing. Hopefully we get to that. So some of this should be a little review, but hopefully we see some things we didn't know before. So you do have some categories, and we should know most of these. Muscular strength is the maximum force. Endurance is a sustained submaximal force. And power is force per unit of time. The different types of exercises we have, you'll have your static or isometric, ones that don't move. Dynamic would be ones that do move. So they call it oxytonic, new word there, is free weight testing. Your isokinetic would be testing the isokinetic dynamometers. So there are two different isometric, isokinetic. So these will be a machine. Variable resistance, testing machines that have cams or pulleys, basically don't use those. Concentric or eccentric, so is it on the way up or on the way down? There is different degrees of, so like you do a range of motion test, and so they'd have 40 degrees, it would be 25%, 100 degrees would be 60%, 160 to 170 would be 100% of that range of motion. So you're going to try to test from one point to the other for that full range of motion test. I see that mostly when I have students trying to do a barbell or a bicep curl, and they're trying to do their max on this. Well, if you don't do the full range of motion, it doesn't really count. So concentric's going to be going shorter, and then eccentric's going to be extending. Usually that's going to be against gravity, with gravity. But the amount of force that happens in each spot is going to be different. So at the top, it's going to feel like 45. At the bottom, it's going to feel like 70 pounds. But at its hardest point, it's going to feel like 100 pounds. So different types of muscular strength and endurance things, or ways of assessing it. You're going to have a static one, which would be a dynamometer. We're going to do a grip one at some point here. And the dynamics would be either free weights or machines or an isokinetic machine. So a static assessment would be the maximum voluntary contraction, MVC. So usually this would be a spring-loaded type of thing, which would be for your hand grips or your back and leg. We will use these hand grips in class at some point here. I've got 2 of them, I believe. When I got the job here at PUC, they said you need to go have a workman physical. I'm like, huh? And I was a little worried at the time because in June, last day of June, I had ankle surgery. And it's September. I mean, it's an 8-week recovery plus another 8 weeks. I mean, I was barely out of crutches when I got here in August. And I waited till September to go get this exam because I didn't know if it was going to work. Like, would I have enough power when I did something similar to this? Where they had it was all digitized for that one. So this all went to a computer. And they had me pull on something that didn't have a wheel here. So an old way of doing it is you'd be standing on a piece of wood, you'd pull this, and this would turn the dial, how far it would go. Well, now they do it more with a force plate and a computer. Probably more accurate that way, but this would be the old school way of doing it here, which, black and white photograph. Go figure. Other types of static endurance, there'd be, again, you'd still be using dynamometers here. So you have percentage of decline from that maximum voluntary contraction over a minute. So you'd hold that for the whole minute, trying to hold it from the ground, or your grip for the whole minute. So the time maintaining a given percentage of that thing here. So this is another way that you could do this assessment. I haven't seen that one done very often, but that is a possibility that you may use maybe with an elderly person that you're working with. So different types of trunk endurance. Usually endurance is always a time till failure. So one would be a V-sit with a 60%. This one's doing a pretty good one here. The next one would be an extension with a flat back. So this guy here, can I move my picture here so you can see a little better? Ooh, let's move me in the middle. Haha, makes you front and center. Where you're holding their legs doing, that's what they're doing. But I've seen this trunk extended over the bench. I've seen this done where they're actually over, so there's nothing for their stomach to be touching on. So just the hips are at the edge of the bench, and then you're holding down the legs for that. And then the old school side plank. I've definitely done this one with some of my students before. So dynamic strength assessment. This is the one we're probably more familiar with. Recommendations: use free weights or a consistent resistance machine. So that would be like our machines that we have. What you don't want to probably use is a variable resistance, as in it gives you, it gives you 100% going or up and then like 120% coming down. You don't want one of those kinds of machines there. So constant resistance machines. So they're usually safer than free weights. There's less need for spotters, and you can minimize bad technique. For the beginning of my weight training class, I have them all use the machine. So the chest press machine that's against the back wall there by the air conditioners. Everybody uses that one, which almost works every time. I did have a couple of guys in the quarter before this one, and they were too strong for it. They did a whole 190 one time. I'm like, okay, do you want to go use the real one? And they're like, yes, please. And so the two guys I had them spot each other. The cons is it could limit the range of motion, reduces the stabilizing using the stabilizing, and it also doesn't accommodate all body sizes. When I had the tallest guy on the volleyball team in there doing his, I couldn't get the thing low enough for him to be in a good position for his chest press. So things like that sometimes, or a really short person, I couldn't put the seat high enough to put it in so that it wasn't like over their neck. So you just got to be careful on that one. I would probably say the other con here is it's more difficult to set up the machine per person, because you want it set up exactly right so they can get as much power as they can. And a lot of people on that chest machine, they put it up here around their chin as they're pushing out, or it pushes at a different angle going up maybe instead of straight out. The other one is I have two grips. I could do like a hammer grip or a side grip, and they all want to do hammer grip on that thing to try to get the most power, because when you're first starting out, you have stronger biceps than you do chest muscles until you start working them out. Then they very quickly overtake each other. Some other dynamic testing, so that you can do a Tendo or Myo. This is Myo test would be this kind of device here. They're both similar. One only goes one direction. The other one goes multiple directions. So you'd have a computer. You'd have the Myo test device on there. This one's great because they actually have bars here to be on top of and a force plate. The one that we're most used to is bench press and leg press for a 1 rep max. That's the one probably most people. And then your relative strength is your 1 rep max compared to your body mass. Usually, like if I remember right, you should be able to do, as a guy, 125% of your body weight as a bench press. Not me. I haven't been able to get that ever. But that's what they say. Take a standing break, even though you're at home. All right, moving along. Steps for 1 rep max testing. These are very important. Get used to this routine when you test your client. So you want to do 5 to 10 reps. I usually say at 50% just to make sure I remember. So 5 to 10% of 50% of their estimated 1 to 15 rep max. Usually for me, that's the bar if you're doing like a bench press. 3 to 5 reps of 75%. That's usually how I do it. 50%, 75%, and then try your 1 rep max. Give them 2 to 4 minutes between each attempt because you want to replenish those energy reserves. And then you want to increase conservatively 5 to 10%, 10 to 20% on the lower body, and until they can't do it anymore. Spotting free weight exercises. So any free weight. Whether it's a bar or a dumbbell, your major goal is protect that lifter. Exercises requiring the spotter, whether the bar is overhead or over their face. I always laughed at they had one called Skull Crusher in P90X, and I'm like, this is like, if it's called the Skull Crusher, you probably need a spotter for this. And it was literally a tricep exercise right over your face. So using the power rack, that's going to have the bar on the back or a bar in front of the shoulders. will change how you spot it. The big thing is make sure your spotter's strength is greater than the strength and height of the lifter. So they don't want to be too short if you're spotting someone doing a leg press or a leg squat. Your spotter needs to have more strength and be taller than that person. That's why I end up spotting a lot, because I'm the taller one. I don't have a good picture of this one. When they say alternating grip, that means one palm up, one palm down. So if I can get my hands in a position, there you go. One palm up, one palm down when you're doing that bar to help them. Make sure you have a stable base of support and your back is flat. If you're going to do dumbbells, this is why I had this picture. You want to spot close to the weight. So if you have somebody doing that, notice where his hands are here. Assist in that lift off and when racking the weights. Be very vigilant during those 1 rep max attempts, because this is the biggest safety issue that we have in lifting, is if the spotter doesn't know what they're doing. Some other dynamic ones is where you do repetitions to failures of a 1 rep max test, so like a YMCA bench press, which we have an example here. They say try to do it at 70% of your 1 rep max.
What's up, wise guys and gals? Today we're doing a fitness assessment known as the YMCA bench press test. It's used to measure upper body strength and endurance. We're going to perform the bench press to a metronome set at 60 beats per minute, which sounds like this. Use a 35-pound barbell for women and an 80-pound barbell for men. Make sure you have a spotter for safety, unlike me. Begin in the down position with the bar touching the chest and hands gripped at shoulder width. On beat 1, fully extend the elbows to the up position. On beat 2, lower the barbell until it touches the chest. Stop the test once you can no longer stay on beat with good form. I ended up with 49 reps, which is considered excellent. See how many you can do, and then compare your score with the norms chart, which is available at...
So they call it 30 reps a minute, so that's 1 second up, 1 second down. The one thing this doesn't take into account is how big your body mass is. And then my other big question, if it's 35 pounds, how would you test that?
What's up, wise guys and gals? Today we're doing a
All right, so there is some dynamic isokinetic muscle testing. So this one's the one that we had earlier. So this is going to measure torque, work, and power. So this is actually going to be testing your strength from this degree to this degree. It's going to do the endurance from this degree to this degree. And your power is going to be the whole thing there. And this machine's going to test that. I did have a good time in, I think it's biomechanics class. We were used an app that would measure how fast you were going and would give you your total work and power when you put in your height and the weight that you're doing. So there are ways to do this with an app, but this is a much more scientific way of doing it, is with an actual machine. So the endurance test would be calisthenics. Now calisthenics have gone way up in popularity in recent years. You can probably thank CrossFit for that. So pull-ups is one that people would do a lot of. I haven't seen pull-ups being done as an endurance test much recently. Then you would have push-ups, would be your chest and triceps is what you're testing there. And then trunk curl, is not really doing your abs. It's probably doing more your hip flexors. But that's the one that people test, especially in grade school. And your California Fitness Gram test are going to use all 3 of these in some way, shape, or form. So some of those core stability tests here. I probably should have had a video of this, but maybe I'll look that up and put it at the end of this here. Assessing power, most people are going to do a vertical jump test. So the easiest way to do that is with a Vertec device, which we do have at the school. Ooh, did I put that away when we were done last class period? Whoops. Or a switch mat, and then accelerometers is another one. A standing long jump is another great way of assessing muscular power. Take another standing break. All right, so this one has these are just the steps for doing this. So your vertical jump test, you're going to determine the reach height. Then you're going to readjust it, then do a ballistic counter movement jump, arm swings without a step, and then assess the highest vein, subtract the height to get there, and then usually do at least 3 trials. Here's a video of how to do that.
The vertical jump test can be performed using the Vertec, a commercially available device with colored plastic vanes that facilitate the measurement. First, make sure that the extension rod on the Vertec is set such that the bottom vane is at a known height, 6 feet for example. The extension rod is adjustable to 6-inch increments. The wands are color-coded. White wands are at half-inch increments, blue wands are 1-inch increments, and red wands are 6-inch increments. Next, measure and record the client's reach height by having the client maximally extend his or her arms overhead to touch the highest vein possible while standing flat-footed. Now the extension rod can be raised so that the client cannot jump higher than the top vein. Again, make sure that the bottom vein is at a known height, such as 8 feet, after increasing the extension rod. Have the client jump as high as possible by performing a rapid counter movement squat and swinging the arms. At the highest point of the jump, the client should touch one of the veins. Measure and record the jump height. Have the client repeat the vertical jump several times and take the best score. The vertical jump is calculated as the jump height minus the reach height.
All right, so I'll apologize if that echoed a bunch there, like 3 times, because I recorded it once and then recorded it again here, so hopefully that didn't mess with that too much. So your muscular testing, there are some sources of error, so your client, they may not have a bunch of practice time, they may not try as hard as they can. Maybe your equipment is not adjusted to your client. I definitely struggle with that with the chest press machine when I use that for weight training class. Your technician, which would be you, the amount of knowledge, and being able to detect errors in your client. Then the environment would be like the room temperature. If you did it in the middle of winter here in our weight room, it isn't heated or kind of air conditioned. But the temperature of the room may affect that. So there, you could estimate there's an inverse of somebody's 1 rep max based on the number of sub-max reps to failure. So there are various strategies to use that to predict the 1 rep max. 2 submaximal sets of regression, so you try at least 2 times. And then you could also estimate from the number of reps on the bench or the YMCA bench press. And, oh, do I have that here? No, you'd have to probably look up that table there in your book. So the antagonist to agonist to antagonist would be this one here, would be that balance. So you're hoping that, like, let's take our shoulder, knee, shoulder, ankle, trunk, elbow, extenders to flexors. There we go. Elbow, that would be your bicep, tricep. You would hope that they would have a muscle ratio of 1 to 1. Same with your trunk, would be like your abs to your back. Your hip extensors would be extending your knee forward and backwards. So you'd hope on like a leg extension and a leg curl that your muscles are going to be about 1 to 1. Now your shoulder ones are going to be a little different. So ones should be a little stronger. Knee extension and knee flexor, sorry, that would be the one that we'd be talking about there. It would be extending and flexing. So you should be able to extend more than you flex in this case. Ankle, on the other hand, has the biggest ratio of 3 to 1. So also you could look at this from collateral, so left to right side should be less than 15%. So if they don't, then there's a problem. I do watch a guy online called Squat University, and his are really interesting. If you're interested in being a PT, I'm guessing this guy is a PT, and he'll have clients come in and say, I have pain on my left side when I do a squat. And he'll watch him, and you'll be able to see he'll line it up with this guy has a stronger left side than the other, and so he's going down in this angle. Oh, super interesting. Highly recommend following Squat University on YouTube. Now here's the one where you're going to get a little more different. When you get to older adults and geriatric populations, So if you were being a PT in a nursing home, this is where these things are going to be a little more applicable here. And this would probably be a large portion of the clientele that you're going to get are going to be Medicare, Medicaid people that are having physical therapy done with you. So strength, you could do 1 rep maxing if the person is able to do it. But it's probably better to do sub-maximal estimates of that 1 rep max. You could do some more functional fitness. How good can they do on an arm curl? 30-second chair stand. How many times can they stand up and sit down in 30 seconds on that chair? And then the Tendo device that we had earlier for an explosive chair stand. Oh man, that sounds like a really fun one to try. But a more popular one is going to be the stand up and go. Here we'll just watch what it is.
The 8-foot up and go test is used to assess agility and dynamic balance. You again need a straight back or folding chair with a seat height of 17 inches placed against the wall. You'll also need a stopwatch, tape measure, and a cone or similar marker. Place the chair against a wall and position the cone or marker 8 feet, about 2.4 meters, from the front edge of the chair. Instruct the participant to sit in the middle of the chair with back straight, feet flat on the floor, and hands on thighs. 1 foot should be slightly in front of the other. The participants should get up from the chair, walk as quickly as possible around either side of the cone, then sit back down on the chair. Following the demonstration, have the participant practice the test 1 time before beginning the test trials. Explain that the goal is to complete the test as quickly as possible, but not to move faster than is safe. The tester must start the timer on go whether or not the participant starts to move. The timing stops when the person sits on the chair. The score is the time elapsed from the go signal to the seated position. Record both test scores to the nearest tenth of a second and use the fastest score.
So that is a great one. So here's what what they call that earlier, the arm curl for a functional test. So using a straight back chair and doing it off to the side of that chair would be the best way, because that's going to be the easiest on your geriatric population, is to stay sitting in a chair. You don't want to be leaning over like in a weight room with their elbows propped on something if you can avoid it. Unless they're functional enough to do that, but you may or may not have that possibility. And then here would be that sit to stand. So there's that 30-second chair stand. So it'd be how many times can they sit to stand here in 30 seconds? All right, I think we have time for this.
So how fit should you be at 60 and beyond? Some older adults struggle with walking up the stairs while others are running marathons. In this video, I will share some guidelines and fitness tests to help you determine whether or not you're on track. Hi, I'm Sid Meier, founder of Second Wind Movement and a life coach for older adults who are striving to live active, healthy, and engaged retirement lives. Gone are the days of retirement simply being about sitting around in a rocking chair on your porch and living a life of only leisure. You have so many more options nowadays to live a fulfilling retirement life full of purpose, and at the baseline of that is, of course, both your mental and your physical health. Like anything in life, when it comes to fitness, everyone is different. Age, health conditions, lifestyle, and other factors all play a role in how fit you should be at 60 and any given age. To help you strive to be as fit as possible, here are 5 key fitness tests for older adults and what they test for. Starting with fitness test number 1, 6-minute walk test, which tests for endurance. The 6-minute walk test is an easy and quick exercise test to assess your aerobic capacity. The goal is to walk as far as possible on a flat, hard surface in 6 minutes. The only thing you'll need is a stopwatch.
And a way to track your distance, like with a Fitbit or an app on your phone, or even measuring the distance between 2 cones and counting the number of times you go back and forth.
here is what is considered to be the average level of fitness, categorized by your age group and then your gender. You can also calculate the normal distance for your gender, age, height, and weight using these two equations. There's one for men and one for women. In case you want to crunch the numbers yourself, I'll leave a link in the description below this video for the article that includes these formulas so that you can take your time with it or simply pause the video. As for how to improve your endurance, the easiest and for many most enjoyable way to improve your endurance is by walking. Make it your mission to take a walk every single day until it becomes a part of your daily retirement routine. If you're ready to take it up a notch, try jogging, running, swimming, or any other form of aerobic exercise. Basically, just get moving and try your best to be consistent with it, with a big emphasis on consistency. Even if that means cutting your cardio session time down so that you can more easily squeeze it in every single day. Fitness test number 2, chair stand, which tests for strength. The chair stand is a fitness test to measure your lower body strength. The only equipment you need to have are a stopwatch and a chair.
We've got our amazing superstar Rewire My Retirement student, Paulette Amburn, who's going to demonstrate for us. I just want to insert that I'm so proud of her for pursuing so many passions since she's joined our signature program, including turning her passion for yoga into a real life business, both online and offline.
Before you start the fitness test, just make sure your chair is stable by placing it against a wall. Then you just sit in the middle with your feet shoulder width apart, cross your arms at the wrists, and hold them to your chest. From the sitting position, stand completely up and then back down again. Repeat this as many times as possible in 30 seconds. So how'd you do? Here are the basic guidelines for fitness levels for 60s, 70s, and 80s. Fitness test number 3, bicep curls, which tests strength in your upper body. To test yourself using the bicep curls, you need a stopwatch and a dumbbell, maybe a 5-pounder for women and an 8-pounder for men. Start by sitting on a chair and holding the weight in your hand with the palm facing towards you. Hold your arm against the body so only the lower part of your arm is moving. Then fully bend your arm and fully straighten out your elbow. As with the previous test, the goal is to do as many bicep curls as possible for 30 seconds. Log your results and then see where you land in your age group using these basic guidelines for fitness levels. To improve your strength, any kind of weight training will do. Whether you join the local gym or exercise at home, remember that nutrition and your diet also have a helping hand. Which, by the way, if you want to download our nutrition guidelines for some extra guidance there, I'll leave a link in the description below this video. After all, research suggests nutrition is a vital factor in muscle building and weight loss. So with the right pairing of weight training and nutritional intake, you're better equipped to firm your muscles over time. Fitness test number 4, single stance test, which is for testing your balance. The single stance test is a simple yet effective test used to measure your static and dynamic balance. Again, you only need a stopwatch to perform this one. Basically, stand on one leg with your hands at your hips. Start the timer from the moment your foot is bent at the knee until the time your foot touches the ground again, or until you move your hands from your hips. And that's it. Comparing your results for this one is simple. If you're over 60 and you can stand for more than 5 seconds, you should be satisfied with your balance. To actively work on your balance, try incorporating into your weekly exercise regimen balance enhancing practices like yoga, tai chi, or even dance lessons. Improving your balance is super important for reducing your risk of falling and for setting yourself up for successful aging in general. Fitness test number 5 is the chair, sit, and reach test, which is all about testing for flexibility. For the chair, sit, and reach test, you need a ruler, a chair, and someone to help you measure. First, sit on the edge of a chair with one foot steadily on the floor. Extend your other leg forward with your heel on the ground and keep the knee straight. Then, place your hands on top of each other and inhale. As you exhale, reach the tips of your toes by bending at the hip. Don't make any sudden movements or bounces or stretches to the point of pain. Your partner then measures the distance between the tips of your fingertips and toes. And if they touch, your score is 0. If you can't reach them, a negative score, or they overlap, a positive score. Just measure that difference. And for your results, here's the basic guidelines for fitness levels among 60, 70, and 80-year-olds. And to become more flexible, include light stretches or yoga in your morning or nighttime routine. All it takes is just a couple of minutes every day. Again, consistency is everything. If you do this daily, you'll start to see noticeable changes in more than just your flexibility. So it's all about turning this into a daily habit. And there you have it. You have the core tests for being fit for life. To recap our 5 fitness tests for older adults over 60, number 1, the 6-minute walk test for endurance. Number 2, the chair stand tests for lower body strength. Number 3, for upper body strength, it's the biceps curl test. Number 4, the single stance test for balance. And number 5, the chair sit and reach test your flexibility. Side note, the results should serve as a baseline to determine how fit you should be at 60. But of course, we advise you to go deeper into your individual situation, and you can always consult with your physical trainer, your physician, or other fitness professional. Either way, being fit goes beyond just looking good or maintaining your figure. It's an essential part of your health and quality of life well into your future. Like, it can help prevent conditions like obesity, heart disease, and dementia, and it keeps you strong and mobile and independent as you get older, so make it count. Of course, there are so many ways to stay fit no matter what your age or ability, and we have the resources for you. To get you pointed in the right direction, if you need the extra guidance, check out
All right, so the last thing we talk about is doing muscular fitness testing of children. I wish this was a longer section here, because this is the one I've done probably the most on, is because I'm always doing it on school-age kids. So it is appropriate to do 1 rep max testing as best as you can when you're actually doing muscular fitness testing. Make sure you're one-on-one supervision there. If you have resistance machines that are child size, would be really cool, but you're probably only going to see that in like a physical therapy setting. At least in my case, you're not going to see that in a school setting. So endurance, we're going to do a lot of the push-ups, pull-ups, those multi-rep body endurance things. And then the long jump is probably the best one for power. It's also the easiest. I've seen some schools I've been to, they actually had a like foot pad mat that had the distance for them already on it, so you didn't have to like measure it very much. All you had to do is be where they stopped, and it would already be like written on a folding mat. And that worked out nicely. All right, that's all I got. See you in class. Have a great day.